Hey, what's up, everyone? Welcome to another episode of We Need to Talk. I'm your host, Malynda, joined by my co-host, Karmel.
What is going on?
How you doing today?
I'm doing well.
Good.
I'm doing very well.
Good.
Weather's great.
Weather is great.
Spring is here.
Finally.
Loving it.
I was seeing, though, because I used to live in Chicago with my husband, it's still winter there.
Yeah, is it ever not winter in Chicago?
There's about 2 months out of the year where it's really just stupid hot. It's like 105 degrees, and I wanted to die.
So they're either freezing cold or stupid hot.
They have it hard out there. Not gonna lie.
Wow.
Chicago's been hit a lot this year with just media and news and all of that stuff.
And the weather's just like, all right.
And the weather just doesn't do them any favors. So yeah. So we have a couple things to talk about today. Last week we touched on a little bit the Louisiana church burning. There are 3 churches that were burned outside of Lafayette, and they now have somebody in custody, a suspect. I love when they always say alleged.
Right.
And John has explained it to me in a legal sense, but it bugs the crap out of me when they say alleged, because like we know that this person committed this crime. And I get you're innocent until proven guilty, quote unquote. However,
You see, and this goes back to what we talked about the week before about alleged innocent because Mr. Albert Wilson.
I know.
Right?
It wasn't alleged with him.
No, it wasn't alleged.
He wasn't innocent until proven guilty. He was just guilty.
Just guilty.
And black. And black. He's guilty of being black. That was what the situation was. But so they have this suspect who allegedly burned down these churches. His name's Holden Matthews. He's 21. And what was so interesting about this, there's a couple things. He is the son of a sheriff's deputy.
Yeah.
Now
is it the chief or just a sheriff deputy?
Just sheriff deputy.
Okay,
but still, so that means he has a connection to law enforcement, which I'm just going to sit back and wait and see what happens, because if there's no way that he won't get preferential treatment.
No, definitely not. He will.
I mean, if Dylan Roof, who walked into a church and shot 9 people, was given Burger King. Right. Before he was taken to jail. Yeah. This is the son of a sheriff's deputy who burned these churches down. Granted, nobody was hurt, thank God, but still, you burned down 3 houses of worship and specifically targeted black churches. And you are the son.
Where did they take him after they arrested him? Whataburger? I don't know about Whataburger.
They did say, but I'm sure he got a meal. But what is so interesting about this is that they're blaming it not on his racist feelings, not on him, being interested in white supremacy and white nationalism, but they're blaming it on him listening to black metal music.
Black metal.
So black metal music is what convinced him to do this. Now, I didn't really know exactly what black metal music is. So if you don't know what it is, it's a subgenre of heavy metal music that typically takes on kind of an anti-Christian, satanic, and paganistic themes. And it said that black metal songs typically have like fast tempo. They have a lot of shrieking vocals, which I hate that kind of music anyway. Heavily distorted guitars, just things like that. And I think it started back in the 80s when it started becoming a really big genre and having a big cult following. But I always find it interesting when they use things like that, like it was the music that affected them, or they didn't have any friends in school, as excuses for why these people commit these crimes.
His upbringing, it was just tough, and he didn't know anybody. He knew their neighborhood. No.
Why can't somebody just be a really awful person?
Well, they can be when they're black. They already are. Let me say that. They already are an awful person when they're black, and then you have to go through the system of telling people that they're not an awful person. But this case, no. This person just had it rough,
Right.
Or they were listening to music that encouraged them to be this bad person. Like were they not a bad person because they listened to that kind of music? Why is it not? Why is that not the narrative? They like negative frequency energies, so they're listening to music that encourages that, and then they go out and do accordingly acts that are negative. Like. This is constantly the case where it's the kids in Columbine, Dylan Roof, any of these kids go out and do this. Oh my God, they just had it rough, and they were bullied their whole life, and that there's a lot of kids who get bullied who don't burn down houses or murder people. And there's a lot of people who don't do any of those things get caught up, like Albert Wilson. I'm gonna keep talking about Albert Wilson, who was a good kid and is now being sentenced to 12 years in prison,
right,
for kissing a white girl.
Right.
Not to bring that up again, but this
But
is,
it needs to be talked about
yeah,
because
but
it's not
just,
being talked about.
it's not right.
Right.
And they're not talking about this case in the way it should be. And that this was a racist act, racially motivated, pure hatred against Black Christians.
I think that what's so unnerving about this in a lot of these situations is that there are always signs that show that this person is capable of behavior like this. So in an article I read on CNN, he had a lot of Facebook posts that were very uneasy. He posted about being armed, and he even said it may not be legally, but I have these guns, and he posted pictures of the guns. He was a part of a lot of these black metal groups that would post different things and a lot of racist stuff and a lot of white supremacist stuff. So my question is, why don't people take that stuff seriously?
Well, one, Facebook should be
100%.
because I know
100%.
if you say anything about Trump or anything like that, you get banned. A lot of racist, and I should say even rhetoric that's funny. Sometimes I have a lot of comedian friends who will post funny racist stuff, get banned. So when Facebook, so I'm not gonna say if, when Facebook saw this, why didn't he get banned? Why didn't they alert the local authorities? Because they know exactly where he lives. They have your IP address. They know where you're. They know where.
They know everything.
They know everything. Why wasn't anyone alerted to this? Also, his parents obviously aren't checking these things, aren't aware of them, and he has friends too. So I'm sure people saw this,
right?
And no one decided to say, "Yeah, we might need to talk to the boy because something's up." And then maybe this was supposed to happen. Because that's the other thing I look at it like. People don't know this, but the history of the police, even the origin of the police, was to originally patrol slaves and plantations. And I think it was in South Carolina where the first slave patrol was created, like in 1804, and ironically, maybe not ironically, the first church burning was in 1822, also in South Carolina. So the fact that this kid is the son of a sheriff deputy and they're out burning churches and no one knew how it happened, no one knew what this kid was, yet we have pictures of him buying gas cans, we have pictures of him like preparing for all this.
Right.
So it almost feels like maybe this was supposed to happen. Because, I mean, another thing is church burnings are a definite sign. Like it's I think even prior to like even America, burning a church or burning anything was a sign of excommunication. Almost like getting rid of something. Like we don't want you or want this or whatever.
Right.
So it's definitely, sometimes to me, I think like we make it like this just rogue person went off and did something. He may have been acting on behalf of a group that wants to remain anonymous or unseen or unheard, but
I mean, it's possible, but it's so interesting you say that though, because anytime it is a different group, for example, if it's, Muslims, that one person is acting for all of Muslims. You know what I'm saying? Even if that's not the case, but that's how the media portrays it. That's how people think. But with these situations, whenever I've noticed that it's a white male that commits the crime, it's an isolated incident.
Yes.
They were acting alone. They have nothing to do with this. It's not Trump's rhetoric. It's not, this group that's being galvanized currently. It's like they're a sole person. And I don't really, I get why they say that, but I don't understand why it changes when it is a person of color that commits a crime.
Yes. I agree with the notion that let's start with the person themselves, but that needs to be with everybody.
Right.
So when it's not that way, okay, let's just be balanced with everyone then.
Yeah.
So if he did it, I'm going to assume that he or his parents or uncle, someone is allegedly also probably a part of the KKK. He's in Louisiana. This kind of stuff they do, and you kind of did it kind of easily. Your dad's a sheriff, which a lot of people who are in the KKK are either politicians or sheriffs.
Especially in the South.
In the South.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go with that. I'm going to assume that's what it is. And until I hear differently, that's my assumption. Because that's the way they want to run it with everybody else.
Absolutely.
That's what I'm going to do.
That's exactly how they run with everyone else. So I think it's fair to make assumptions across the board in that way.
And people can get mad at me. I honestly don't care. I don't care. If an Arab dude, shoots up a club in Orlando, it's all Muslims are shooting up clubs. He
I
obviously
mean,
was,
that's the assumption
right.
that was
He
made.
was an
So
Islamic, guy who was out there honestly acting on behalf of Hezbollah or ISIS or somebody sent him out there to do that,
right,
right?
right, right,
No, it couldn't have been just some random dude named
right,
Omar who just got pissed off at
right,
somebody. It was no. So
right.
I'm gonna assume Holden is a young up and maybe it was like an initiation. Maybe he's trying to get in the KKK and he's all right. You got to go burn 2 churches. Oh, I'm gonna do 3. That's what it is. I'm gonna assume that he's trying to get in the KKK.
But it's interesting with somebody that age. He's 21, which is very young to me, especially this day and age, to have that mindset. There's no way that it's not trickled down and passed down from your family, because how
Right.
else do you really get exposed to that other than it being passed down to you?
Because he's not on Instagram or Pinterest. There's no Pinterest pages about church burning right now.
Right.
So I mean, I don't know. It's not something
Right.
you see on YouTube. It's not something that's prevalent in the media. It's an old thing. Like I think the last church burning was some years ago. So someone is influencing this kid.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And I think that kind of plays into what actually our question of the week is going to be this week. But like, if racism and those thoughts, the kid, are they ever going to die because it's just passed down in your family tree, so to speak, especially
Yeah.
in the South? I mean, that's just their mindset. That's what they believe. There's still this fear that's instilled with them in regards to other races and other people. And I wonder if that's ever going to change, because it's just going to get continued passed down.
It's funny you say that because comedian Godfrey on his Instagram, who is hilarious, posted
Godfrey.
he posted
Godfrey.
a video of him talking to this 15-year-old half black, half Asian kid. I don't know if you've seen this or not, but he's just talking to him outside, and he asks him, "Hey, have you experienced racism?" And the kid quickly says, "Yeah," and he's just like, "See, kid's 15, 15, and he's already experienced racism." And so in the video, he points at and basically white folks saying, "You guys were saying racism is gone. It's not. This kid's 15."
Yeah.
And has
Yeah.
experienced it already. And it probably wasn't yesterday. It probably was, years ago. So it could happen when he was 12. So it's not gone. So he says, don't tell me it's getting better or it's changing. The kid's 15 and already experienced racism. So I honestly don't know. I don't think it's going to go away. I honestly feel like what we're supposed to do is learn how to just move and stay productive and just not like rock the boat, like not honestly get in people's way. 'Cause why would it change? I mean, this whole country was never developed or designed for us.
Right.
So
Right.
I always feel like I just got to figure out a way to be productive, do what I need to do, build for myself. I honestly, I hear a lot of people talking about, why don't we build more black churches, more black schools, more black banks? And like, well, you see what happens. As soon as we get a little bit of something, it's taken. And I think once in this podcast I mentioned Black Wall Street.
Yeah, I was just
Anyone
gonna
go
say
mention that? Go
Yeah.
read the history on Black Wall Street where we did that. We had everything: banks, churches, hospitals, schools, and an amazing infrastructure and our own stock market. It's gone today.
It's burned to the ground.
Burned to the
Burned
ground.
to the ground.
So I don't think racism is going to leave, and I think a lot of it is because this. People say, America's broke. We need to fix. It's not broke. It's doing exactly what's supposed to. It's not made for us. So. Whether you're Arab, whether you're Mexican, whether you're black, don't get comfortable. Don't ever think like, oh, it's getting better. Just do what you need to do for yourself. Figure out how to take care of your family and invest. And honestly, I feel like people need to learn to build elsewhere. Like a lot of ethnicities here, they don't look to build here. They take the money and they send it back to their home countries and build there. And
which is smart.
Very smart.
Very smart.
Not only smart because it'll survive, but financially, like the money you make here is worth a lot more in other countries. So I think that's what I would look to do. I'm looking to do.
Yeah.
Because I don't see racism changing.
That's unfortunate. It's unfortunate. Just also hearing like stories from my family. Like I said, my dad grew up in Mississippi. My mom's from Louisiana, and just knowing that they're still witnessing stuff that they experienced when they were my age. Of course, they're probably like, "Oh, this won't be an issue in 2019." And it still is. It still is. I mean, we even see, videos of like kids, in colleges using the N-word or doing blackface still. It's like, well, why is this still an issue? But I would like to be hopeful. I'm such an optimistic person, but it's hard to think with something that's so ingrained in our country's makeup that it'll ever go away.
And what would that look like if it was gone? Like, because I mean, I don't deal with it on a day-to-day basis.
Mm-hmm.
So I think if it was a long stretch of time where I didn't see it, I think I wouldn't feel any different than I do today. I just know of it. I've experienced. I understand it. But like in terms of like things I don't think people know about, like whether it's mortgage lending and loans and banking, how there's racism in that, or if it's the economy and like getting jobs and stuff like that, or the things that people don't see. Like when someone calls me, the N-word to my face, or is like just being racist to my face, I get it. That's something you can see. But there's a lot of things systemically people don't see on a day-to-day basis.
100%.
And I think that would probably be the biggest change that even people, everyone was nice. I think that would be cool.
Yeah.
just be nice to everybody, but still the systemic underlying stuff that we don't see, I don't think that changes.
Right. So as we transition to this next topic that we're going to talk about, is actually a good question I want to have for you. I want to talk about the media and the role that they play in society. But I'm wondering is how big of a role do you think the media plays into the implicit biases and the racism that we feel?
It's everything. I think what we see on TV, now on social media, newspapers, billboards, it's all conducive to creating a feel of fear, controlling people, getting people into a certain agenda. And it's so simple. It's so simple. People don't realize how easy it is to be swayed one way or the other by the media. And it's run by a select few people.
Right.
And when we think like one station or one network's against the other, whether it's Fox versus, NBC or whatever, one's liberal, one's conservative, it's all a play. It's all a play.
For sure.
And I've always hated the fact we don't see even politics that way or anything that way. Like we think it's Democrats and Republicans. No, they're both a bunch of rich people who are controlling us.
Right.
We're not influencing them. And it's funny because even the word police and politician both come from the same root word of people, and to control the people. It's not the other way around. So I think when we look at TV, when we watch the news, when we watch even movies, there's things in those pieces of media that are designed to condition us. That's why it's great when you see a Jordan Peele makes films that are telling you something. Like if you really watch what he's trying to say and listen and take note, like those things are like what I think we need to do more of on our own.
Yeah. Did you see Us yet?
Yes.
Okay, you did.
Yes.
Awesome. We'll have to talk about it.
Yes.
No, I completely agree with you, and it goes back to this whole situation with, I already forgot his name, which we should forget his name, but the arsonists and all of the shooters that we've seen happen. There's a specific narrative that is painted when it is a certain race of people, and there's a different narrative when it's painted when it's a different race of people. And we asked this question this week, but it kind of is going to catapult into something else. But we asked this question on Facebook and Instagram and Twitter. So what's one topic that we feel the media or society doesn't focus on? And somebody said on your Facebook page something that was really, really interesting to me. They said the truth and the whole story. And that struck me because it's so true.
Yeah.
It's so true. And just with like these situations when they're painting these narratives of these people to get you to feel sympathy for them. But when you see that it's like, I mean, they're on Fox News, they're already trying to smear Nipsey Russell. And it's like, don't come for him.
Right.
First of all, like you cannot smear his name no matter what you try. Like he was involved in gigs, whatever in the past, but look at all of the good that he's done. It doesn't even matter what he's done. The fact that he was black, that he was from Inglewood, and that he was a part of a gang, that is what they're going to run with.
Right.
But with a white shooter, it's like he was a good kid. He, was troubled. He maybe had ADHD, like you said before. And it's a shame because the media has such a responsibility. They're where we get all of our news.
Yeah.
The media is at the forefront of everything. That's where we read the headlines, we watch the news, we listen to the shows, and they have a huge responsibility to give the people the truth. And I'm always questioning now. And I was saying this to Karmel earlier, Trump always says, and I can't believe I'm quoting Trump, but he always says the media is the enemy of the people. And I've always thought that was a little extreme. But when I really look at it, I'm like, maybe what he's saying is this, because they are the reason that we think certain things about certain people, certain demographics, certain celebrities, even certain races, and they're where we get all of our news. I mean, if all you do is watch Fox News all day, of course you're going to think a certain way.
Yep. Yeah.
You know?
So if this kid was Arab, guarantee you the first word on the headline is terrorist.
Terrorists,
without
ISIS,
question.
all of it. Yeah.
Easily.
100%.
And the kid could not know a thing about those things, but because he's Arab, that's the case. And I don't know why they don't call this kid a terrorist. Why wasn't Dylan Roof a terrorist? Why weren't the Columbine kids terrorists? Why are we only using that phrase in that nomenclature when a person's Arab?
Mm-hmm.
When it's a black person, they're a thug.
Mm-hmm. It's gang related.
It's gang related. Why isn't this kid a thug?
Right.
Like I know for a fact a lot of the news is scripted, and even when Drexel was here, he said a lot of times they give us just enough to tell us, but they can't give us all right away because we might act or react a certain way, and that's why I like certain outlets that don't shy away from saying everything or go to find out more, like like the Young Turks, who are really trying to get out there and say we're going to talk about all of it and get it all out there, because there's an agenda obviously with any of these outlets to create a narrative, to create a story, one to get us to watch, because that's the money. We have to watch.
Totally.
They have to get ads, and that's how those get paid for, but it also creates a general feeling in our populace then that politicians start acting towards. And I remember when Drexel was here, I mentioned how 9/11 got us all on board with a lot of the policies we have now that are now hindering us from doing things, like the way we travel and the things we do and all that. But we were all on board when 9/11 hit.
Right.
So not to say that was a conspiracy theory to create those things. That's a whole nother story. But when people act a certain way, or we all generally get feeling about something, typically policy always follows that. So if it's guns and gun control and all that, and we start seeing a lot of gun violence, I feel like some of this stuff is staged, some of this stuff is planted, and then we see articles and interviews and things created for us to that's right, I don't like that. You didn't know a thing about that. And now you see it, and now all of a sudden you have a whole feeling about it. Like, do a little more research. Like, actually get into what happened and transpired. I almost guarantee when this all comes about, if it all comes about this kid, like you said, they saw the signs and they knew his potential. I'm almost positive someone put him up to this. Because again, there's no reason a 21-year-old would know about church burning.
Right.
And besides, don't you have other things to do? Like, who goes out and
right? Are you in college? What are you doing? Are you working? Are you in college? Like, what's going on? Why is
girls
this,
before?
Right.
There's
Why
girls
is this
out
your
there.
hobby
I
right
got time
now?
to burn no churches.
Yeah. Oh man. I have no idea where that case is going to go, and I'm obviously very interested to see how he's going to be treated because he is the son of someone in law enforcement. And
I know there's a bill that was passed during the Clinton administration against church burnings, and I think the mandatory sentence is 20 years.
Really?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he's not getting that.
Probably not. Yeah. And they haven't even decided if they're charging him with a hate crime yet. That's not confirmed if he will be charged with a hate crime.
Okay. Well, that makes no sense.
It makes no sense. It makes no sense. But we're just going to have to wait and see. But we'll see how the media reports it as well. But
how is it not a hate?
I don't know.
If one of the churches were white, if you burn two black churches and one white church, okay.
Then it's just churches.
This is clearly. Churches. 3 black churches.
It's very specific.
And that's a lot of work, people. Like, to burn a whole church down, there's a lot of gas pouring.
Yes.
It's a lot of matches. I don't know how he did it.
A whole church.
A whole
3
church.
Whole churches. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we don't know yet if he's charged.
And there's another thing.
Crime.
It takes a long time for a church to burn down. No one saw the fire
or tried to put it out.
No one tried to put it out. No fire deputies. No one called the cops or anybody. They just heard some crackling in the woods and just.
I don't know.
Y'all smell that? Y'all smell? Yeah,
right.
Somebody barbecuing, right?
The whole thing is just bizarre, but I'm glad that this actually is getting media attention. But I want to know if we're learning the whole story.
I know we're not. I know it. And I wonder. there's a whole bunch of like theories. There's a whole critical thought process I can go with. Everyone, I'm getting away from the conspiracy theorist phrase.
Now we're going
it's
into
critical thought. That's what I'm going at. Critical thought.
Okay, what's your critical thought about
like
this?
insurance policies on these places?
Mm-hmm.
I wonder if those, churches rented out those places, and maybe the owners, had insurance policies. Because then, you kill two birds with one stone.
Right.
I get rid of this black church out of my building, and I collect on my insurance policy. I'm just throwing it out there. Just thinking out loud. Because it's because again,
you never know.
You never know.
You
never know.
No, they could have hired this little young kid. Now I know it's critical thought, that's what we're calling it, but it's still so much a conspiracy theory. You never know what could have led him to do this. But I will say, I'm not just going to put it off on black metal music.
Yeah, black. Because when a black kid does something and we're not gonna just blame it on hip hop.
Well, they might though.
They might, but it's like even us. Come on, man, that's just stupid. Like It's not. No, first of all, no hip hop music is gonna make you go burn down churches. So, and what black metal music is telling you to burn down a church? That's a very specific thing. Like if you went and just shot up some people, I can understand. I could see some death metal, kill people, whatever. Like go burn down.
They were saying in the article
First Baptist Church. I'm pretty sure that's not a lyric.
Right. It's not a lyric, but they were saying that black metal music does focus on very like anti-Christian stuff, but it's also very white supremacist and white nationalist. So I think it was kind of like a combination of what the themes of black metal music is supposed to be that they're saying is what led him like, okay, so I'm anti-Christian and I don't like black people. Oh, look, there's a black church. Let me go burn it down. Like, I think that's what the pieces they're trying to put together as to why he was led to do this. I know it's a little bit of a stretch, but I think it's easier for them to try to put those puzzle pieces together than to just say, you know what? This is just a racist white kid and he was taught this.
And again, that's where the media comes back into this.
Right.
They're not going to say that.
Of course not. Of course not.
And I think the media, I want people to like look at this more. If they look at all media like a movie, like TV, like look at it all that way. Like on that same Facebook thread on my page, when the guy said truth, I put it to anyone that said that. Do you mean truth or do you mean facts? Because they're not the same. And I know when I tell this to people, they always look at me weird, like, what do you mean? Because truth is something that we all generally consider to be true. A fact is measurable and tangible. There's nothing to debate. So like, and I always give people this example. Like, the truth is I'm black. It's not a fact because I'm literally not black.
Right.
And
Right.
people, I get
Right,
it. Yeah,
right.
but we generally consider me black. So that's a truth. But tomorrow they can create a new census that comes out and all black people are called something else. And that's what I'll be called.
Right.
So the truth would change. So, but the fact of the matter is I'm not literally black.
Right.
So when we look for facts from the media, we never get them. Like, we have to go searching for those things.
For sure.
Or they're just so obvious. But there's so many things that we will go with as a true or a truth and be, okay, I'm okay with that. Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, cool. And then we just kind of like, yeah, that's what happened.
Right.
And then 20 years later, the person comes out with a documentary or like a biopic and you're like, oh, wow, that's not what happened.
That's not at all. Yeah.
But we just go with it because the narrative that's written and given to us, we all will feel okay with. So I almost feel like sometimes they have to like create the story, get things going. Okay, people like this, that makes sense. And then they give it to us. So I look at all media as entertainment. To me, everything is entertainment. Because like even Trump running and that whole from now till then, I look at it as like, this to me is real life House of Cards.
100%.
It's House of Cards in real life.
Yeah.
Like because at the end of the day, honestly, when I go to sleep, Trump doesn't do anything for me or to me. But when I watch it, I see how people react and get like all, bent out of shape about it. I'm like, this is creating a feeling for you. So then what happens next when this is presented to you? You now feel a certain way. Now they give you this and then you act accordingly. I mean, see, that's where I get like people like, stop doing that. Like my mom is so like, she gets so swayed by stuff on the news every day. I'm like, you need to stop watching. If you just got off the news for a week and went outside, go to the park, read a book, and then come back to the news, you'd be like, oh, wow, that's going on.
Yeah.
That's happening.
Yeah,
We're
yeah,
doing
yeah,
that.
Yeah.
Like, to me, the news is almost like soap operas. Like, any of y'all watch soap operas back in the day when if you didn't work during the day and like someone was getting married and then you leave, don't watch the soap opera for like 20 years, come back.
Still that same wedding.
Still same wedding. They just cutting the cake. Well, some people have had whole lives, been married, had kids, come back, and that same couple is still planning the wedding.
The same day.
It's the same day. Yeah.
That was the charm of soap operas, though.
Right. To me, and that's what the news is to me. It's like,
interesting.
it's the same thing. Like, you leave and come back, it's the same thing. I'm not ever surprised. Like, okay, well, sure, that makes sense. Why not?
It's funny. It's the same thing, but when you see different sources, the headlines are so drastically different. And they're pandering, obviously, to different demographics. But it could be the same story, but the headline, which a lot of people only read the headlines, which stop doing that. Read the actual freaking article.
Yeah.
But the headlines will make people have their decisions and have their feelings, and that's it. And it's just laziness also.
It's very lazy.
Nobody wants to do the research. Nobody wants to find out what the truth is. But I find it interesting that like CNN to even NBC, obviously to Fox, to like BuzzFeed News, to Bloomberg Report, whatever, same story, same situation, headlines completely different, which will sway you in any direction. CNN can make me feel one way, then I read title on Bloomberg. It's like, oh, well, it said this on CNN, but maybe this is what it actually is.
Yeah.
And it's irresponsible, honestly. I think it's incredibly irresponsible because it's like you said, they're not giving us facts, which they probably never will. But they're making headlines for reactions from people. They're telling you how to feel. They're telling you how to feel, like you said. And
sometimes I don't think they give us facts because there aren't any. I feel like it's all fabricated. I mean, to me, it just seems like they're just making all this stuff up to keep us divided. Because I mean, honestly, all those different outlets create, like you said, one writes one this way, one writes this way, and then we feel one way about it, and it keeps us divided.
Right.
And then we keep our liberal, conservative, we keep our Democrat, Republic, we keep this and that. I'm like, what if you were just down the middle? That's why often I'll go watch Reuters or something completely outside of America to get like some insight on something that, like, how do they see us?
Right.
And a lot of times their headline is very neutral. It's very like, oh, this happened, and let's look at it. Like, not versus, what we see from Fox or CNN or NBC.
Yeah.
And then, like, I wanted to ask Drexel this when he was here last, and maybe we'll bring him on to talk about it. Like, why don't we create our own party? Like, why? And I mean this mainly for blacks, but even minorities together. Like, why? What is stopping us from creating a party that literally works for us? Because the Democratic Party does not work for us. The Republican Party, of course, doesn't. So
Right.
I don't understand. I've never understood why black folks or minorities put so much behind them. I know that there was a history behind it,
Right.
and it kind of moved towards that direction. But I don't know if you remember the discussion we had here years ago when Drexel was moderating.
Yeah,
and I asked him, can you name me one policy that was passed that solely helped people, that had no like corporate kickbacks, had nothing connected, just solely helped the people? And he said no. I said, can you name me one that was solely for corporate gain? Sure. To me, that was everything. So I'm like, wait a minute. The people who are supposed to be helping us have never created a bill or
actually help people.
Just to help us. And maybe it's happened, but I've never seen it. And he couldn't think of one. I think Drexel knows everything about politics since its inception. And he couldn't think of anything.
Right,
so to me, that just shows me that the politics and these parties are not designed for us. So why not create our own?
Well, I wonder why minorities haven't tried to just take over the independent party and make it a bigger party. It's there.
Yeah.
It's there, and it's just it's not really utilized, to be honest.
So to me, that goes back to media coverage, because a lot of politics is ran based on hype. So if you can get in front of people and get them hyped up and excited, you have a likelihood of, making some noise and winning some seats. If we started our own thing, I almost guarantee you we'd get no media coverage.
Right.
Because we could have this whole thing huge, like build up that no one ever sees, and people will be, oh, I never heard about it.
Right.
Because they didn't come to our meetings, or they didn't come to any rallies we had. Because in order to know there's a rally, you have to have media coverage. Hey, such and such is going to be in Boise, or it's going to be in Houston, it's going to be over here, and like oh yeah, they're having a rally somewhere, then, or they don't even mention it at all. They just mention the Democratic one and the Republican one, but not this independent or minority party that's trying to blow up.
Well, nobody also wants a lot of choices. They want one or the other, and that's people like convenience.
Yes,
that's just like the world that we live in and the culture that we live in. If you get Democrats, you get Republicans. Like, okay, I got two choices. I'm gonna make one. I don't want to have all these, which is also why I think so many Democrats running is kind of frustrating, because it's like there's 25 people. How am I supposed to make a decision? Like, call me when there's only 5 of you.
Right.
Right. But I think that's why the people haven't really put any stock into the independent party, is because it's just easier to have two to choose from, and because we all know Republicans are not for Black people or minorities in general, even though the party switched, but that was a long time ago, so stop using that as an excuse. I hate when people say, well, Democrats were actually the original racist group, and it's like, but they're not anymore. Let's focus on this now. But and Democrats technically don't really do anything for minorities either, but I'd rather go with the Democrats any day.
Sure. It's the lesser of two evils.
It's the lesser of two evils,
That's why I see it. But that's our whole society is based on two parties or two options, whether it's Android or iPhone, whether it's Pepsi or Coke, Pizza Hut or Domino's, which
apples
I hate.
Or oranges.
Apples or oranges.
But that's a very good point. It is a very good point. But again, that goes back to the media, and I'm like wondering, it's like, how if they now I'm getting into these conspiracy theories. I'm hanging around you too much.
I'm sorry, they're out there. They're just all out there. You sit back and look at things.
For sure.
It's so much of it is black and white or red. Like even that, there's on a census, there's black and white. There's no other colors.
Right.
But now, if I call an Asian person yellow, that's racist, or Indian person red, that's racist. But
no, they have multiple choices
ethnicities,
now.
But there's only two literal colors on there. There's literally only a black and a white designation.
That is true.
That creates division. It's everywhere. Like there's a Mac computer on this table, and then someone has a PC computer. Why isn't there a third option? But one, I don't learn 3 different computers. It's just. But then that creates division. Like there's people who hate Macs and people who hate PCs. It's like, why is there always hate? Because there's only two options. It just creates a team or rivalry feeling in our whole country. Our whole nation is built like that. And when we get around election time, we see it more than any other time. It's the most divisive part of our country.
100%. Even, I was thinking, even NSYNC or Backstreet Boys, there's always division.
There's always Team something. Team Edward, Team William.
Absolutely. But here's my thing. If we didn't have that, what would the media have? If there was nothing to be divisive about, if there was no, choose this or choose that, what would they report on? If everybody was all rainbow and sunshine and flowers and happiness, and people could just do whatever they wanted, there was no division on anything, people could like the things that they like, choose what they want, and there was no conflict anywhere, what would the media have?
So, in honesty, we would have, if the media was just designed to report, not to influence, but just to report, I think we'd have the media talking about great artists, great engineers. This happened. This person created this, built that. I think there's a lot of stuff to report where the news is generally negative. I think we'd have now news that was generally positive. Of course, we'd have some things happen, and people are still going to fight and argue over stuff. But I think there will be plenty to report on. I don't think there would be much to influence people on,
right?
Because then people would just see things as they are. If we didn't have the church doing stuff, or the government doing stuff, or police doing stuff, and then the media writing those stories to create honestly it's propaganda. I mean, I know people don't like that term because they always associate it with like Nazis and Hitler, but honestly he was using a tool that is older than the Nazis, and it's still being used today. Propaganda is still what people are seeing. It's more subversive. It's more subtle than how Hitler and swastikas and all that stuff. But it's the same thing,
right?
So I think if we didn't have those, those choices, and even like it's so funny because we see it in movies, where there's red pill, blue pill. It's always like you have two choices, but you really don't have to choose either one,
right? You
can create your own lane, but people are lazy and they want convenience and 100%. They want it written out for them. They want it spelled out for them. They want the food given to them. So we're going to get a bunch of people like in Wall-E in wheelchairs that are just fat and overweight with diabetes, not knowing what to do. And they need people to tell them what to do.
I legitimately say this to John often. I was like, I think we're getting so close to being what happened in the Wall-E movie.
Mm-hmm.
We're getting so close to that. Just by way, like I have my phone in my hand right now, just like things like that. I mean, I'm about to read something, so don't judge me too much. But like we have our phones, you know, we're really controlled and obsessed with technology and advancements in that way. We like convenience. I mean, you literally at this point, I'm gonna go off on a little bit of a tangent now, but in 2019, you don't have to leave your house for anything.
Nope.
You can Postmates your groceries, your toiletries. You can have somebody, you can do like a task rabbit, have somebody go get gas in your car if you want. People can bring you coffee. You can get all of your meals delivered, all of your groceries delivered. You have your, you know, the world at your fingertips with your phone, with your
delivered.
News.
All that.
I hope you can.
You can.
Can you seriously?
Sure.
Oh my gosh.
That's what Tinder is. Right? Now, that's been out for years.
See, I'm definitely a predating that person. John and I are very much an anomaly.
Yeah, I've never used it. I just know
sense.
it exists. But you can get everything
That's
delivered.
so funny. But you can get everything delivered. And we're so going beyond like having human connection and talking to humans, which I'm going off on another tangent, guys. We started our photo series this week, and meeting some people. You have to come with me on one of these, but meeting people and hearing what is important to them, what they think people need to talk about, was really, really interesting.
I can imagine.
Yes.
I can imagine.
But a lot of people were afraid of the human interaction and me like talking to them because we're so used to it. We're so used to just not having to talk to anybody. We watch our TVs, we read our news on Twitter, we read our news on Facebook, and go about our days.
Yeah, is a real person in my face?
When somebody calls me, I freak out.
Oh, I was just having this conversation the other day about the phone. How when someone called you back in the day, it was a commitment.
100%.
Because someone's going to pick up that phone,
Yeah.
and now I have to hear their voice, and I have to engage in a conversation. Like, that was a huge... So when someone called you, and you were like in high school or in junior high, like, you felt special.
Absolutely.
Because this person is intending to talk to me.
Right.
Nowadays, all you get is a WID. And you don't have to say anything. You could be like, I'm going to let that marinate for a minute. I'm probably like talking to
You
them.
don't yeah, right. You don't even have to respond. But if somebody calls me, I'm like, what happened?
Yeah, like what?
Like, this is
What
an
you
emergency.
doing?
Something's wrong.
Why'd you call me? Like, it's a phone.
It's a phone.
Like, I know people who all they do is call, and it shocks me. Like, oh, it's that person. And I know that they prefer to talk.
Yeah.
But I'm like, we just rather text. Because then that human interaction, now I don't have to commit to saying anything or feeling a certain way, and I can just keep my distance and whatever. So do it in person.
Yeah.
Just walk up to somebody. Like,
It was a lot. But make sure you check out that photo series. So we launched it this week, and we're going to be continuing it and just talking to real people on the street and finding out what they think is important to talk about. So we want to know what you think also. Tell us your thoughts about Holden, I think is his name. I don't even want to know his name, but right, I don't care either. But tell us your thoughts about that, and also just how the media portrays situations in that sense, but also just the responsibility of the media, because it's very important. And I really, really liked whoever your friend was that said that, because it really got me thinking, like, I want to know the truth. I want to know the whole story. So, but before we end, every week, as we've mentioned before, we'd like to highlight a community or organization or person that's doing good in the world. So this week, I was really, really proud and happy to see that Jaden Smith, if you don't know who Jaden Smith is, he is the son of Will and Jada Pinkett Smith. He created something called the Water Box to bring water to Flint, which, yes, they still, to this day, do not have clean water, you guys. It is 2019. It has been 3 years. They still do not have clean water. There are children that now have permanent defects because of the lead that was in the water. But what Jaden did with his company, 501c3, they brought the Water Box to First Trinity Baptist Church. And basically, it's a water distribution looks like a vending machine, basically. And they're giving out just hundreds and thousands of gallons of water a day for Flint. So big ups to Jaden for creating this and doing this. Check them out, 501c3 on Instagram, and you can check out the Water Box. I just love that somebody's actually doing something about it and using their money and using their influence to help
our government.
People. Not our government.
Not the city of Flint, but
it's not. But I think we knew that wasn't going to happen. we knew that the government and the city of Flint wasn't going to actually do anything. But I'm really proud of what he's doing. So check it out, The Water Box. It's really cool. They've done a bunch of videos and interviews, and they're really, really changing the game in Flint because somebody had to do it. And I'm glad that he's using his influence and his money to do so.
Yeah, so let's support you guys.
Yes, yes. All right, so thank you again for tuning in. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe, share, tweet, Instagram, all of that stuff. You know the whole list.
You know how to do it.
And we will talk to you next week.
All right, y'all be good.
Bye.